It was the early 2000s. Owl City's Fireflies was the top of everyone's emo pop playlists. Photographed by Nickelback was the most hated song on the planet, and the world was ready for something new. But no one was expecting, or could have imagined, what would have happened next. Few people actually know where this obscure genre came from, how it came to assault the public with its fat wubs and screeching stabs, and why it just suddenly vanished from all but a few niche places on the internet. So, what the heck was dubstep? Well, I believe that the early sounds of dubstep came from a few different genres, mainly UK style like two-step music, which is a form of early electronic dance music created by like British producers and DJs, and dub, which is a subgenre of reggae. Two-step focused a lot on like driving bass lines, vocal chops, and usually like a swung, syncopated drum pattern. And dub music, being a subgenre of reggae, was popular in the 70s and 80s, which featured that classic reggae halftime drum pattern, but also had a focus on deep, aggressive sub-bass lines. Combining the two, with UK garage's two-step electronic elements and chopped-up vocals with dub's laid-back halftime drum beat and deep, aggressive bass lines, dubstep was born. So, what was the first dubstep song, you might ask? Well, there isn't one. You could say that there's a missing link for the genre of sorts, but while there's no one song that signified the separation of dub and two-step to dubstep as we know it today, I do think I know how it started, or more like who started it. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and define what dubstep is, because I think that's what most people get wrong off the bat. Most people think it's just a smorgasbord of the craziest, screechiest electronic sounds a producer could come up with, all smashed together with a heavy kick and snare keeping time. But that's not it. I think there are two key elements that make up dubstep as a genre, and a lot of people disagree with me on this. So number one is the drum pattern, a kick on the one and a snare on the three. What does that mean? Well, in traditional electronic dance music, you get a kick on every quarter note and a snare on every second and fourth beat, giving it what you call a four on the floor pattern, made popular by disco in the 70s. So if you take away all the kicks except for the first note and move the snare from the 2 to the 3, you get this. UK garage and two-step music had all sorts of syncopated patterns, but reggae's dub music, that was almost exclusively a kick on the 1 and a snare on the 3, thus defining the dubstep's drum pattern. Number 2 is the bass, both a staple in two-step and dub music, a driving, deep, moving bass line called a wub. A wub? What the heck is a wub? This is a wub. I think many will disagree with me, but I think the wub is one of the defining characteristics of dubstep as a genre. So where did this all begin? Well, no one really knows, or that's what I thought after searching through countless articles. All these forums and opinions all seem to say different things. This artist, this group, this DJ, blah, 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 lots of names being thrown around. But after digging deep, and I mean deep, like Reddit threads from the mid-2000s deep, I found what I believe to be the one man that started everything. It was a small record shop and music label called Big Apple Records in South London, in the height of the UK club scene. Producers and DJs were hard at work in the studio upstairs when a certain individual brought in a mix of something he was working on. The shop and the label was founded around the early UK garage, techno, drum and bass scene by John Kennedy and DJ and producers Artwork and Hatcha in 1996. Lots of DJs shopped there, producers like Benga, Skream, Lofa, and notably Benny Ill. When Artwork, the co-founder at Big Apple Records, was interviewed about the origins of dubstep, he had this to say. Benny Ill used to come into the shop back in the early garage days. He was trying to make garage, but he was putting the snare on the wrong beat, on the 3 beat. It made it more like, well, he loves dub reggae. He was making dub reggae garage. We were like, this is weird, but Hatcha loved it. But Hatcha called it dubstep. It was Benny Ill that started it, without a doubt. He used to bring the tracks in. We were so used to this garage sound, and he'd come in with this record with the beats on the wrong beat, and Hatcha used to play them on the radio. It was very dubby, but it wasn't two-step. Hatcha, Benny Ill, Artwork, and the other electronic music producers at Big Apple Records got to working out what this possible new genre would sound like, releasing tracks and compilations and albums around this weird new combination of two-step and reggae dub. So each artist took this dubstep concept and kind of just brought their own style and personality to it, and more joined as the genre just took off in the British club scene. Benny Ill and J. King came together and created Horsepower Productions, continuing to innovate in the genre while also sticking to their UK garage roots. Lofa brought his dark, somewhat eerie style to it. And Benga pioneered that modulating LFO synth sound. Skream created some really interesting and creative tracks, very melodic, with lots of movement. And then a producer called Coki, well, his stuff just sounded evil. Most of the music stayed within the UK dance music scene until Dave Q and Joe Nice, DJs who followed the electronic music scene in the United Kingdom, loved the sound so much that they organized a dubstep-themed nightclub called Dub War at a Brooklyn bar in 2005, being kind of America's first introduction into the dubstep scene. The event was super successful and ended up spawning more festivals throughout the other American cities. And around this time, music production software like Fruity Loops and Ableton were becoming more widely available, and many aspiring producers attempted to get into this new genre, where it ended up spreading to places like Japan, Australia, Brazil. It went just worldwide. Then in 2007, DJs Caspa and Rusko released this, Fabric Live 37. It's an album of lively, dynamic dubstep tracks that seem to embrace the sounds of dubstep that we, like in the mainstream, know today. The tracks were less brooding and introspective and more, well, I guess just listen to this remix of Hammer Time. It's kind of just crazy. So this style of the genre seemed to just explode at the clubs and kind of just ushered in this new wave of dubstep enthusiasts. Not quite with open arms. A lot of the purists in the dubstep community called it bro step, kind of a jab at these new enthusiasts and this new form of the genre. And many believe that this also signaled the death of the beloved genre. But not yet. There was still one who would usher in the genre to the mainstream, make dubstep a household name, and piss off a ton of OG dubstep fans. The same year Caspa and Rusko released Fabric Live 37, 28-year-old Sonny Moore, lead singer of Screamo band From First to Last, seemed to be at the end of his music career with vocal cord issues. But not wanting to give up music completely, Sonny learned Ableton and embraced EDM music, ended up taking on the stage name Skrillex, and began a career as a DJ. So taking inspiration from UK garage, dubstep, drum and bass, as well as his career in the metal genre, he started putting out hard-hitting remixes of popular songs and self-released his first solo EP, My Name is Skrillex, for free on his MySpace account. With a hugely positive reception on MySpace, Sony signed to deadmau5's independent label Mousetrap, where he released his second EP, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. The record exploded. Skrillex was catapulted into stardom, and when the album won 3 Grammys, it was official. Dubstep was a mainstream genre. Everyone was using it. Advertisements, political campaigns, and just about every single Let's Play gamer on YouTube. It was everywhere. And then suddenly, it was gone. The world just moved on. But not without leaving its mark on so much of today's music. Dubstep merged with hip-hop and became trap music. Future bass was a combination of dubstep and tropical house. And just no longer were the raging wubs the center of everyone's attention. Except for the gamer intros. Those things stuck around for a long time. So why did it die? Well, some say it just went out of style, and others say that it ran its course and went into different genres, but probably it was because it was freaking annoying.